Hello and welcome to John's Author Diary for the week ending September the 30th, 2018. This is episode 52 of the Author Diary podcast, which means I've now done this for a year. So that is quite crazy to me. I've had a busy week. I've got the second draft of The Empress ready. I sent it to an alpha reader and she got back to me super fast with feedback. So I think next week I'll be acting on those suggestions. I've got a few ideas for a few changes I can make to improve the text. As this past week was spent doing that, and then on Thursday and Friday I was working on things like learning about marketing, and then on Friday it was a teacher training day, so my son was off school, which also coincided with his 6th birthday. So I spent this weekend doing birthday stuff. I had my mum and sister and 2 of her children come to stay for the weekend, and we had a birthday party at a venue in Morecambe. So we just hired a little function room and a cafe, and then he has some of his friends from school and friends from the area that we know. So that was really nice. Had a lot of fun. I was absolutely exhausted just watching a bunch of 5 and 6-year-olds chase each other around for about 2 hours. Last week I mentioned that I'd started reading The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. This book was tremendous. Now when I'm reviewing books on Goodreads, if it's a really good book, if it's excellent, I tend to give it 4 stars. I save the 5-star reviews for books which are exceptional. And this was an exceptional book, so it got 5 stars. I think it's probably the 2nd or 3rd 5-star I've given this year. It was one of those books when I was reading it where I found myself getting jealous of the author's ability, the author's writing, and just how it was making me feel reading it. So I would highly recommend that. I've started reading The Heroes by Joe Abercrombie. Now this is such a contrast to The Last Unicorn. It's really grim, it's really dark, a lot of swearing, a lot of violence, a lot of gore. But it's given me a good feel for military fantasy, which is something that my series that I'm currently working on will dip into at some point. So, as well, not to give too many spoilers, but what I'm looking to do with, I think it's the book The Hierophant, which will be book 6 in the novella series, that's going to be set on a ship. And so, once I finish The Heroes, I think I'm going to go on to some nautical adventure books. So, I think I'm going to read Master and Commander, and maybe books like The Ruling Seas and things like that, just to get a feel for nautical tales. So I don't know for sure, but I imagine if I sat and wrote about being on a boat and it was completely wrong, I would get slated in the reviews. So I think this might be one of those subjects like horses and guns, where if you get something completely idiotically wrong, it's going to take knowledgeable readers out of the story, and then that's the last thing I want. So I had a question this week. Michelle asks, have you stopped writing post-apocalyptic fiction, and are you just a fantasy author now? The answer to this is I've got at least one more post-apocalyptic novel in me. I've got a post-apocalyptic collaborative trilogy that I'm going to be releasing next year. Fantasy is my first love. I love writing fantasy. I love reading fantasy. I think as a writer, I can do fantasy better and feel that my voice as an author is much stronger. The type of things that interest me in stories are the type of things that you get in a good epic fantasy. But I will always tell people I'm a writer of speculative fiction because I do write sci-fi. I do write fantasy. I do write dystopian stuff. To me, they all come under the same umbrella. They just have different focuses, different priorities. And so, never say never. You know, I've got a lot of energy and enthusiasm for this fantasy series that I'm doing at the moment. And I really like the serialised form, where I feel like I can get through a first draft in a week, and then spend the next few weeks making it something of a high quality. So I hope that answers your question. If you are interested in reading my fantasy stuff, you can read the full for free. Just go to tinyurl.com/Ravenglass, and that's the first episode of the Ravenglass Chronicles, so you can get that for free. You can follow me on Twitter, it's at JLCronshaw. And if you have any questions, please email me. It's john@johncronshaw.com. So until next time, cheerio.